Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote. Hello, welcome to Across the Park podcast. This is a very, very special bonus show for you guys. We're not going to be talking about the current stuff. We are jumping in the time machine. Grab your dad, grab your uncle, grab your big brother. We are talking 1970s Everton. And we're also going to touch on a little bit of today's stuff as well with my guest. I'm, of course, Ian Mills. So thanks for joining us on this show. Not many people in the world grew up a blue and then signed pro terms to represent Everton, train at Belfield with some amazing players. My guest is one of them, Mr. Tommy Wheeldon. Tommy, thanks for joining us, lad. How are you?
Absolutely superb, mate. Especially talking about the 70s when we were a team.
Oh, I can't wait to get into it. But there's a journey to get there. Grew up an Evertonian. What were your memories? We always say you were chosen. Was that
Definitely, yeah, definitely chosen. I was lucky. Obviously, 1963 was the first one, and that was the league championship. I thought it was always going to be like that.
Yeah.
Even growing up, like in the 60s, 70s, Everton was superb.
Yeah.
You know, Kendall Ball, Harvey, fantastic. I mean, 68 with Ray Wilson, and I was a left back.
Yeah,
and we got beat by West Brom, and I'm like devastated. 66, and he's a mate of mine still, Mike Treblecock. So I was devastated because Fred Picker and my hero wasn't going to be playing. And this little fella from Plymouth was going to come in and play. And I'm like, no. And then we're 2-0 down at Wembley. I'm at Wembley, 2-0 down, crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
And then Mike steps up, scores the 2 goals. Derek Temple wins it for us. Great times. And then we used to go home and away. My dad was one of them where we went home and away, which was superb. Obviously, signing for them was a different world.
So you go into the home games, you go into the away games. Are you playing football as a young kid? How does your journey as a footballer start?
Yeah, I was doing all right. I was at St. Joseph's School in Huyton, which is Peter Reid's school.
Yeah.
So we grew up together. He was a year older than me. But again, we were successful, and we had scouts looking at us there and playing there. Then as we went on there, we won things. Played for Huyton Schoolboys as a youngster. Wasn't in the team that won the national one with Peter Reid and Donny Tobin and all them. But we'd gone to grammar school then, out in Croxteth. Mm-hmm. So it was De La Salle, which is where Wayne Rooney went.
Yeah, not a bad school, yeah.
Yeah, which was a grammar school then. So we were a bit posh, really. So carried on playing there, ever successful there, scouts looking at us, and ended up playing for England Schoolboys there. Mick Lyons went there, and Lyons, he presented me with my England cap. And little did we know, he used to be in the paddock with us in the same area. There's 12 lads used to get with. Do you remember when they used to put the scores out?
Yeah.
Half-time scores.
I know it, yeah.
They would all put in there, and Lyons, he would sit in there, but we didn't know each other then. And it was only since he's gone to Australia that we both found out that we were in the same little area watching it. So we're at the same school. Ended up at Belfield as well, which is great.
We'll get into that. Just sticking on, watching the Holy Trinity. Was that special
God,
as a fan?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't realise what you've got there at the time, but looking back now, how lucky were you to watch that?
Unbelievable. I mean, Alan Ball, incredible. Colin Harvey, Howard Kendall. They all had different attributes, but they were interchanging. And it's not reinventing Pep Guardiola giving us all this where they're moving people around. It happened. Harry Catterick, unbelievable. He had the 2 wingers, Jimmy Husband, Johnny Morrissey,
boss.
Big Joe up there. It was superb. But to see Bally getting through and what they call the number 10 is different class. And it's one-touch football, and never seen anything like it.
I was brought up on him. My half fella, God rest his soul, was the biggest Alan Ball fan, and he still spoke. I'll ask you this: he still spoke that. I think he had PTSD still from the Alan Ball sale to Arsenal. Were you like that?
I went to the Arsenal game, his home debut on, I think it was New Year's Eve. we travelled down, and there's only like 50 Evertonians that have gone down there. We're devastated. But I've got to go and see Alan Ball. Got to go down there. And we went down. I think Terry Dadicott took his place. You know, Terry Dadicott coming in for Alan Ball, unbelievable. And I know Terry, you know, oh, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
But it's one of them where you're thinking, this is the, you know, the beginning of the end, really.
Yeah.
You know, when Alan Ball goes, that's it.
Yeah.
Couldn't understand it. You know, exactly like your dad, really, to be fair.
And playing then as well. So we're going to get on to what you're doing now, what you have been doing since playing, and a big part of that is coaching.
Yeah.
What is it night and day now compared to when you were playing grassroots football and school football? What was it like back then?
Do you know what? It was teachers or it was just volunteers that used to help you. So you look back at your own career and think, I wish somebody had said this. Until I got in the pro game, you know, I had Eric Harrison as a coach, who was obviously the Man United, is it the 92 group? Yeah. So he got Neville and Beckham and all them. And he was like a sergeant major. He was tough. I don't think he could handle the first team at Everton when he got promoted to the first team. I don't think they understood him. Yeah. Whereas young kids, you know, you're like, one of them. But the best fellow was obviously Colin Harvey. Again, I idolised Colin as a player, and he was coaching.
Let's talk about Colin if we can, because we're recording on his 80th birthday today.
Oh my God, yeah, today's his birthday. Yeah.
We've done a podcast with Colin in the past.
Yeah.
So kind. We're in his house doing a podcast with his daughter. Melanie's a friend of mine, become really good friends at Diamonds. Talk to me about your relationship with Colin. So you've gone from watching him, and then don't go too far ahead, but you're with him on a personal level. What was Colin like? What's Colin mean to you? Yeah,
so we were obviously young pros. So I'd signed at 19 for Everton, so we were young pros. So we were under Eric Harrison. But in them days, you had the first team, then you had the reserves, then you had an A and a B team, and they played in the Lancashire League. And the A team was Collins. So if you didn't get in the reserves, you were under Colin Harvey.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant, absolutely hard taskmaster, but again, giving you so much information and encouragement.
Yeah.
He was brilliant. So when he actually stepped up a gear to the first team, and it's no coincidence, people respond to him. He's just Everton, and he's just football. You know, to make your debut in the San Siro Stadium at what, 18? Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Incredible.
There's that famous story, isn't there, in the 80s, where I think we got done at Anfield, and Howard said to Colin, can you come up and help me with the first team? And the rest is history. England's under 18s.
Yeah.
That comes along before the Everton playing journey. So who are you playing for back then? Is it schools? Is it a local team? How does that work? And how do you get capped at England's under 18 level without having a sort of professional club?
It was, I was at, obviously, De La Salle. We were doing well. De La Salle were doing well. And we were winning things. And again, I was captain. And we started winning things. And people were taking note of you. So you then have to try and get into the Merseyside schoolboys.
Okay.
And Merseyside schoolboys was difficult. And funny enough, the trial to go to Cologne, on a trip to Cologne, I wasn't in the squad. And I was the last one to be picked at a trial at Belfield to go to Cologne. I was like 16th man.
Yeah.
And then I was outstanding in Cologne. And then when I come back, I think we played Yorkshire, who had never been beaten before, for about 2 or 3 years. And again, we beat them 4-0. I scored 2 goals from midfield. And funny enough, the guy who was the coach there was the England coach.
Yeah.
Mr. Beaglehole. And he went on to get me into the trials. But you're talking about 3,000 kids were trying out. You know, and you're thinking, I'm going to get through this.
Was that a week period of trials or something?
It was it was over like 2 months.
Really, yeah.
So, you know, we were all over the country. Then it got narrowed down to the London area. Sorry, the Nottingham area, then the London area. And you're going down to like 128, 64. And then I'm thinking, I'm going to get in this. I'm going to get in this. And you had Gary Mabbott's brother, Kevin Mabbott. There was a lad called Mel Eves. All played decent footballers. And you're looking at it and thinking, I'm better than them.
Yeah.
I'm better than them. And it was just that will to win and be better than them that got me in there.
So that led to, I believe, interest from West Ham.
There was a few, yeah. I was a schoolboy at Tranmere, but nothing materialised there.
Okay.
Again, my dad made me stay on for A levels,
yeah.
Which was another thing. But in them days, they only had like 1 or 2 apprentices. So they had a goalkeeper apprentice at Tranmere and another one. So I played for the reserves at Tranmere, even when I was like 15, 16,
Okay.
which was okay. It was decent. Under Big Ron Yates actually signed me,
Wow.
come to our house to sign me. But then, as you say, once you played for the England under-18s, there was a few in looking at us. West Ham showed a great interest. The scout must have been, I don't know what his name was, but funny enough, they're coming up to play Everton in 76. Yeah, I think it was that year. Sorry, it was the year before, wasn't it? 75, because they got into the European Cup final.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Final.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So they're coming up to play Everton, and then I get a letter through from Ron Greenwood and John Lyle to say, "Can you play for our first team against Morecambe?" And this was the Alan Taylor like testimonial thing.
Okay, right.
So I'm like, "The first team?" He went, "Yeah. Can you make it?" "Yeah." "Okay." So you're playing, and this is no word of a lie. Trevor Bruchen, Billy Bonds, Graham Padden, and little Tommy Wheeldon was on the right-hand side.
Some real men in there, isn't there? Yeah.
Oh, tremendous players, you know. Mervyn Day in goal.
Great goalkeeper, yeah.
Oh, fabulous team. As I say, they went on to play Anderlecht, you know, in that year. So it must have been around about April when they were playing Everton. So that was on the Wednesday. My dad gave me a fiver, and I'm staying overnight with West Ham. He gave me a fiver to look after myself. And their pots, when they're playing cards, their pots have got, even in them days, £20 notes in and things like that.
I imagine,
I'm like,
yeah.
I've got a fiver. So the lad called Patsy Holland and Keith Robson, they looked after me. They gave me a few bob. And I just had a great time in Morecambe with them. I travelled through for the Everton game on the West Ham team coach coming through. So my dad was there looking at me like getting off the West Ham team coach and going into the dressing room with the West Ham
How old
team.
are you there, Tommy?
18.
Wow.
Yeah, brilliant.
So were you thinking there at the time, I can only compare it to the generation now, you see that you think they've made it at 18? Was
Yeah.
it like that for you? Were you thinking it's the start of something special here, or were you still
I
quite...
think I'm thinking like that. I
Yeah.
think I'm getting there. But I know now, obviously, in hindsight, I know there's a lot more to do, what I should have done anyway. But at that time, I'm thinking, oh, you know, I've played for England, I've got a cap. I'm now at West Ham here. They want to sign me, not right away, they want to have a look at me. But again, it was a question of coming back to them. And I went down to London. I couldn't settle in London.
No.
Couldn't settle. And again, I had a few little fights down there, being a Scouser, as you do. And, you know, the accent, even outside of the football, the accent, I was living in Canning Town, and that was a tough little area.
Yeah.
And again, as soon as you opened your mouth, you know, in them days, in the 70s, it was hooligans, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was a few fights, and so I wasn't settled. And then I came back, and I signed on the dole, and then Ron Green would come up to the house to try and get me back, and I went, not going. My dad said, just do what you want to do.
Was Alvin Martin there then
Alvin
as well?
Martin went down there, yeah.
He settled down there, didn't he? Yeah.
He
Does he
settled.
ever word with you and try and encourage you to...
He wanted me to go back down there. We were mates, yeah. And again, he knew what was going on, but he was in a better part of the city.
Yeah.
And he was all right, but he went down. He wanted to stay. And look at his career, brilliant. So you don't know.
Yeah.
It's meant to happen, wasn't it?
If you can take yourself back to how you were thinking back then, if possible, so you're back up home, local, Northwest.
Yeah.
I think you started playing for St. Helens. Was there ever a part of you thinking, oh, I should have stayed? Or were you just happy to be playing football somewhere you were happy?
Do you know what? I came back and I signed on the dole in Huyton. So I'd signed on the dole there, and just being in the dole queue was devastating, really.
Yeah.
You know, I'd gone to grammar school and I got O-level. It's one of them. It's like, what am I doing? And then Billy Doherty, who played with me at De La Salle Grammar School, he said, come and play on a Sunday. And I went, nah. And I'd lost it a little bit. I went, nah. And he went, come and play on a Sunday. Anyway, I went, enjoyed it. Sunday League at King George V in Huyton. You know, famous place. Played there. Must have played about 3 or 4 games. And then the St. Helens lads, Jed Keegan and Alan Hampson, said, come and play for St. Helens Town. And I said, who are they? Didn't know. He said, we'll give you the tenner. I went, all right.
Done.
But don't tell the dole that. You know what I mean? Typical Scouser, so I was getting extra money there. And I went up there, and the lads were brilliant. Seriously, on Tuesday and a Thursday night, loved it. And played about 5 or 6 games. And there was all kinds of scouts coming. Like, I don't know whether Alan Hampson had given them the heads up, but I was enjoying football again. Loving it. So there was loads of teams in then, like Port Vale, Blackpool. There was loads of Northwest teams interested. And then when I found out Everton were in, Harry Cook, the famous chief scout, and my dad said, "I don't think you should sign for Everton, lad." And I went, "I've got to. Even if I don't make it, Dad. 2 years at Everton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't take that away from me." He said, "I think you got a better chance at Blackpool." And he was a massive Evertonian.
So he's taking his heart out of it, isn't he? He's thinking with his head there.
Yeah, yeah. And I think he's trying to advise me. And he was a quiet one, like, tough. And he played, like, a good level. And he's like, I think Blackpool's the way to go. Like that. And I went, nah, Everton. Got to go to Everton. Got to go to Belfield.
Yeah.
And then I went there, and they signed me for, the 20 months that I was there, which was brilliant.
The day you signed, there's a great picture online. I think the Everton Heritage have done a great article. It's the picture of you signing alongside a couple of well-known cats. What was that day like?
Oh my God, yeah, brilliant. And again, being a football person, I knew them.
Yeah.
Duncan McKenzie, coming from Anderlecht. And I'm like so excited that he's signing for Everton. Bruce Rioch, who I've idolised before he came to Everton, that left foot, I've loved him. And it's like, I'm sitting in the same room waiting to sign with Mr. Greenwood, the secretary.
Yeah.
So Billy Bingham's brought us down. We've gone down from Belfield down to Goodison Park. And there's the three of us sat there. And Bruce is lovely. Bruce is he's still a mate to this day. Bruce is still a mate. And he's like advising you, just enjoy everything you do. But brilliant. And then Duncan, he was just Duncan, you know what I mean? He was just a character.
Yeah.
And he'd come into the young lads' room and he was just, where's Tommy Wheeldon? You know what I mean? Come on, Tommy, we signed on the same day. So he had that rapport. He was different class, yeah.
So what did the club say to you when they signed you? What were their plans for you? How did they sell it to you? Because like you said there, your dad's saying there's other options. So I imagine there had to be a bit of a sell from Everton. What were they presenting to you? Were they saying, bide your time, we'll look at you, or were you signing as a first team player?
No, they were signing me as a young professional, and they said, with a view to getting into the first team over the period. And to be fair, my debut was for the reserves was the 1st of January against Manchester United reserves at Goodison Park. So I'm like, Man United, playing against Jerry Daly. It's one of them. And the joke, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the German newspaper. So it's one of them where you're like, I'm up against Jerry Daly, Tommy Jackson, Ashley Grimes, good side.
Yeah.
Like that. But then you heard that Billy Bingham was coming because the Leeds game for the first team was being cancelled. So Billy's going to be there.
Oh,
so you're like, I'm loving it. Anyway, done well, played really well. And Billy come in. He said, I've got plans for you. So that was brilliant for me. And then he was sacked within the month.
Oh.
And that's football.
When you're training at Belfield, because you're an Evertonian and because you probably look on these players going, I've been in the terrace not long ago watching some of yous. Was it a pinch me moment, or have you got to get rid of that?
No, pinch me moment.
Yeah.
And I think that was a bit of a problem for me.
Okay.
Looking back at it. You're idolising Bob Latchford.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're idolising Kingy. Kingy's the same age.
Yeah.
And I've seen him make his debut from Luton and come through 35 grand. And you've seen him coming through. And he's there. Dobbo, Brian Hamilton. And, Trevor Ross came then as well. There's more. And these are all my age, Dave Jones. But they've all played. They've all got this experience that I didn't have. Which is, in hindsight, looking back, that's what you think.
Was it a tough level to compete at with those players day to day?
Yeah. Great midfield. And you know what? You look at that 77, 78 season where, Lachie scored the 30 goals. We were brilliant.
Yeah.
You're beating teams away from home, 5-1 and 6-1. They were superb. I mean, the number of goals we scored, but we just had them little moments where we didn't win against the lesser teams again.
Yeah, it's a strange period, that looking back, that late 70s, because you look on paper now, and I imagine at the time, the fans who were supporting that team, it was a good team.
They liked them.
Following the 60s team, and then the 80s team were about to come. That era's a little bit lost in Everton's history, but it was a great side, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that team was great. I mean, Lachie, I didn't want Howard to go, and Archie Styles was a decent fullback. So they've gone to Birmingham City, and Lachie's come in. We're paying the record money, $350.
Yeah.
For a striker, and he was just. I mean, I marked him in training. He'd do nothing and then just score 2 goals.
Yeah.
And you're like, but he was a monster, absolute monster.
What was the crack like with the team there?
Brilliant.
Because it's an era with no mobile phones, so I imagine it's a bit more, you can get out for the pint and stuff. Was that a good little crack with that team?
I think it was a good thing. And again, you go downtown with them, and Lyonsy was the leader, you know what I mean? And Lyonsy, coming from the same school, get the young lads in. young lads are coming. So Ross Jack and people like that would come down. And again, you just had a good time, you know, and the banter in the changing rooms was great. So they had the first team changing rooms. We were like Mark Higgins, Billy Wright was in the reserves.
Yeah.
But they'd come in. They'd come in, and if they didn't have towels, they'd get towels and they'd smack you if, it was just get a belt off them.
Yeah.
Jim McGregor was the physio, and what a character he was, You didn't want to be injured. You shouldn't want to be injured.
Okay.
And I've said that all through my life with kids that I've coached. You don't want to be in the physio room. Get out of there. Because he would slaughter you when you were in the physio room.
Yeah.
So you didn't get injured.
There's probably people watching this now or listening to it screaming at me to answer your questions about individuals and stuff, but I can't go through the whole team. But one who's always stood out to me, and he looks from the outside to have been such a character, Andy King.
Oh my God.
What was he like?
Absolute Andy King.
Yeah.
And I've known him as a coach as well at Swindon and things like that later on. But Kingy, same age, a little bit lost sometimes. So after training, to the betting shop. You come in the betting shop, and I didn't bet. Yeah, I'll go down with you. And the chippy, go to chippy, you know what I mean? So the chippy, just round the corner, you'd be down there. You shouldn't be eating chips, should you? You know what I mean? But we got fed at Belfield as well. So he must have had something to eat, and I'd go to chippy. But again, there was a group of us that would do it.
Yeah.
And he was one of the young lads as well as the first team. So he was the in-betweener.
Yeah.
And he behaved like an in-betweener, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I can
Great character. Great character.
We had Snods on, Ian Snowden. He was talking about, there was a time where he was just in a hotel on a away game, and he had a cigar in his mouth doing keep-ups, and he was just entertaining himself, just keeping himself out of trouble.
He was Gaza. He was a Cockney Gaza, seriously. He was that type of character. He'd come on, he'd have a wig on or something stupid, and then he got his hair permed, if you remember that one.
I do, yeah.
I mean, if you look at my picture, mine was a natural perm, and then you look at Lindsay having to sit there with rollers in his hair, Latchy putting rollers in his head, and then Kingy, and I'm like, what's that? You know what I mean?
All of fashion.
Yeah, the way it was.
Another one I've got to ask you about, his name is still sung on away coaches now, and when the times are going well and the wind's low and stuff. The man who people say walked on water, Bob Latchford, what was he like?
Brilliant. Absolutely. Quiet.
Yeah.
Quiet lad, you know what I mean? Reserved. A bit like Martin Dobson, reserved, but class. Absolute class. And there's no one like him now.
Yeah.
You don't make Bob Latchford now.
No.
And funny enough, he didn't score against Liverpool for Everton. But before, he was scoring all kinds of goals for Birmingham City.
Birmingham City, that's right, yeah.
At Anfield. And he never scored. I couldn't believe that. But unbelievable player. Strong. Loved it when he got in the England team.
Yeah.
And he'd get all the England tickets like that we all got given. And he'd buy them all off you and, looked after you, to be fair.
Is the closest you got to getting on, is that Stoke away?
Yeah.
13th man.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the build up to that, how you found out, and you must have been all morning
Do you know
itching.
what? They put the team sheets up, whether you were in the resis or whatever like that. And I was looking to see if it was in the resis. And I wasn't in there. I was devastated. So I wasn't in the resis, and I'm thinking I must be in the A team or the B team with Colin, which is okay, but you want to play for the resis. And we were a good side. We had good players, Ronnie Goodless and people like that, Jim Pearson, Mick Bernard.
Okay.
All good
player,
yeah. Cracking side. And again, experience with you. So you're learning the game with them. We had Iggy, Billy, and then you got Ross Jack, people like that coming through, which was great. But then I was told that you're 13th man, you're going 13th man. And again, it was carrying the kit. They're taking the piss that you're carrying the kit and all that. Because there was only one sub then.
Yeah.
So you're going as 13th man. But if something had happened to the 12th man,
you're up, yeah.
You're on. You know what I mean? So you got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
And again, Gordon Lee, who didn't really know me, Iggy had played for the first team. I think Billy Wright had played for the first team by then. And it was one of them where you're thinking, does he know who I am? But I was in the squad, so I must have been promoted on what Eric Harrison had said.
Okay.
And it was just nice to be on the first team coach, arriving at the Victoria ground, the old Victoria ground.
Yeah.
We won. And it was 1-0, yeah, and it was £80 a point. So I'm on a basic salary of 75 quid, and we've got £80 a point there. So I was quite happy with that.
2 points back then, 160 quid up, yeah. Happy days.
Decent though, yeah.
Happy days. Was it Michelangelo who scored, or Dobbo who scored?
Dobbo
scored.
Dobbo scored, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thanked him.
Yeah. He was on a pint, I imagine. So there we are in the Everton first team squad. and it doesn't quite take off. The leaving
No.
of Everton, what happens there? Is that a choice you make or the club or mutual?
No, it was their choice, yeah.
Okay.
I thought I might have got another year. But again, if you're sitting in Gordon Lee's office now, looking back, he's correct.
Okay.
He's correct. You know, again, I mentioned Trevor Ross had come in. You know, so you're looking at Trevor, he's better than me. Or he's got more experience than me, and they've paid money for him, so he's going to get the chance. So you've got all these people ahead of you in there. I thought Eric Harrison done well by trying to pull me as a fullback or as a centre back. They're looking around to see, can Tommy Wheeldon make it there? I don't think I had enough pace as a fullback. I think I was more of an aggressive midfield player, to be honest with you. And again, there was too many of them in the team. So looking back, you've got Dave Jones, Kingy, Trevor Ross, Billy Wright's coming through, Mark Higgins coming through. They're ahead of me, in all honesty, looking back. But at the time, devastated, absolutely devastated
Yeah,
to be leaving.
going back home that night, that's a tough one.
Yeah, nightmare. And, you know, you're going back and you're on the 75 bus going to Huyton. Then you've got to get another bus. So you're by yourself. And it's one of them where the best club in the world, you're leaving. You know, you're never going to do that again. You know, so where'd you go from there?
Where did you go from there? What was
Southport.
the next? Yeah.
Billy Bingham was great. You know, he was at Mansfield at the time, rang me up. And I think he fancied me, to be honest with you. He said, come to Mansfield. And I went up there, didn't like it. And then he said, go to Southport or Wigan. He said, Wigan are non-league, but they're a good club.
Yeah.
And that was Billy's advice, to be fair. But he favoured Southport because obviously he was a Southport ex-manager. So I signed for Southport and they came out the league. And Wigan went into the league. So for years that hadn't happened.
Proper Everton.
So it was. I was going to say that's Everton. Yeah, yeah.
Once Everton touches you, right?
Yeah.
The coaching light bulb goes off at some point. You've forged a career in coaching.
Oh my God, yeah.
Were you thinking that early in your career that you wanted
to? No, just purely playing. And again, Colin Harvey, this is instrumental really in my career. Colin's actually pulled me in. Me and Ray Deacon, and Ray's passed on. Ray had been a star for Everton. I thought he was going to go all the way, to be fair. But they're releasing him. He's had bad knees, and I thought it was devastating for him. So he sat us both down in the coach's little room there that they had, and he just said, both of you are going to be good coaches. He said, and again, Tommy, you make people around you play. He said, you're talking all the time. You're always busy, encouraging. He said, you will make a great coach. And I'm like, wow, never even thought of it. You know what I mean? From that, during the Southport period, I'm looking at doing my coaching badges and starting to get involved in that. And funny enough, I met Ray Hall there, who was in the reserves. So Ray Hall's the legendary.
Of course, been there for time, yeah.
Yeah. So the Everton way, Ray Hall, brilliant. I met him as a reserve team player. And I used to go in there, and me and him would talk after training and things like that. And we remembered each other later on in our lives. So that was good. That was instrumental in me coming back to help Everton recruit.
So you starting your coaching career. Is that nerve-wracking for you, because you see you're still in football?
Yeah.
But when you start this and people are looking at you asking for direction when you first start, that does it take you to sort of pick yourself up and get?
Do you know what was confident?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wherever I'd gone, I was more of a captain. So again, I was confident in going on the coaching, and I was a bit younger than the rest of them that were on.
Yeah.
So if I can remember the C licence, there was a lot of 30 plus who finished the careers. I'm still in the career, and I'm a decent player, or I think I'm a decent player.
Yeah.
So it was all right. It wasn't daunting. I think it was just, I felt comfortable with it.
It's took you around a few places. I think your son, Tommy Jr., is still in one of those places. So you were over in Canada, weren't you, coaching for a while and stuff? How did that happen?
Oh, that's brilliant. So you might not like this, but I coached for 5 years with Steve McMahon at Swindon Town.
Yeah,
He's a good mate.
Give it a pass for that, yeah.
He's a good mate of mine. Love him to death, to be honest. But when the first team started struggling, 5 of us got the sack, and I was in the youth setup. I'd done a great job, or I felt I'd done a good job. So I was disappointed in that. Exeter City went down there, and a guy called Peter Fox, ex-goalkeeper, Sheffield Wednesday, Stoke City. Foxy brought me in to the fold there, enjoyed it. And then one of the directors was Canadian. And he's come in and he said, I've been watching you. He said, every time I come over from Canada, I watch what you're doing. He said, and I like what you're doing. He said, would you like to come over to Canada and do it? And I went, no. And he went, come over in July. Well, July in Calgary, where he was based, is the Stampede, which is one of the greatest outdoor shows in the world.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, so famous.
Yeah.
But 10 days, the city stops and they just drink and party and there's all kinds going on. It's amazing. So I was there for 7 days and he let me have his Daimler. He let me have his house with the swimming pool and everything.
Wow.
And he went off to, you know, the way the Americans go off to the house in the
South
lakes.
America's,
Yeah. So he goes off and he leaves me the keys like that. Unbelievable. Anyway, so-and-so will take you to the airport. You'll be fine. Is it a yes? And I went, I'm not sure. And it was unbelievable. And I went, not sure. I'll have to come back when it's like minus 30 in November to see if it's okay. Went back November. It was a done deal, to be fair. Beautiful place.
I love it.
Yeah, the snow, everything was fantastic. The only thing is a lot of indoor football, you know, which was bordered football, you know, which is tough. So again, it was a bit ice hockey-ish, and I had to get used to that. But I went in, I think it was January 2002, stayed for 14 years. Every 2 years they're saying, are you staying, are you committing? And I'm like, not sure. I ended up staying for 14 years.
Brilliant.
Very successful, built up Calgary Blizzards. My son, Tommy Jr., came over as a player for me. I took over the pro team there and he played, but he loved it, loved every minute of being in Calgary, the lifestyle, everything. My other son was playing in Belgium, Jonathan. He decided to come over at 24 to pack in playing football and just come over and be a coach. And the three of us, you know, just got stuck in. We thought we could do a job with the Canadians. You know, we thought we could influence the game. And as it stands now, I think my son has actually, or both sons have actually done that now.
Brilliant. That's a brilliant story, that. And you sent me a video in the week. Tommy had a little success story this week, didn't he?
Yeah, they won the Canadian National Championship.
Brilliant.
And against a team called Forge FC. So they're called Cavalry FC. And to me, they remind me of Everton in the 80s.
Okay.
And Forge
High
FC,
praise, that.
Forge FC remind me of Liverpool in the 80s. And Liverpool, as we know, and Forge are jammy people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was how I seen it. So Tommy's been unlucky against Forge, but we've grown up this year and we beat them 2-1.
Boss.
And it was boss. They were 2-0 up at half time and cruising. And then they scored a poxy goal, which made it a little bit nerve-wracking, and they're just enjoying themselves there.
So I think if we can, next time you're up, we'll try and get you back on, because my partner in this, Judge, he's a qualified coach, so you two could speak about all sorts. I can't kick a ball for toffee, so I can watch it and give me an opinion. But before we move on from that, I know from speaking to you, you're quite passionate about development of the women's league over there as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
How's that going?
I'm actually on the technical committee over there. We've been trying to get that going for 10 years. So while I was there in Canada, they were top 5, top 3. 2015, World Cup was there. And it was just amazing. The crowds were fantastic. And I just felt they needed a league there. But again, there's so many provinces in Canada and everyone's got big egos to step in. And pulling everybody together to do it. We're actually there now. We've got March, April next year, the Canadian Premier League for women is starting. So I'm actually on the technical committee and advising on that, which I love.
That could be the start of something life-changing for the generation, couldn't it?
And for the girls that we've actually coached in the past, fantastic. We want to see them coming through and playing professional football over there. Good money as well, decent money for them, which is superb. So hopefully that is sustainable. But that's been a tough gig, trying to get that through. And again, to make sure that happens, I'm advising from the UK at the moment.
Yeah, well, we wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thank you.
With that. We spoke at the Fulham game. A side story for anyone. Me and Tommy having a drink before the Fulham game, and he pulls out this, what I can only describe as an amazing piece of kit. It's like kits on like a big, nice bit of like sort of wood and stuff. And I said, where'd you get that from? That's amazing. That's what I do. So I've got a few here to show you. If you want to pass one over, Tommy, now. This one, Tommy's brought into the studio today. So Am I right in thinking kits on hangers, and these would just make the most unbelievable gift? So these are sort of, is this wood, is it, Tommy, in here? Is it made from wood, is it?
These are resin.
Okay.
So the hand sculptured resin, and again hand painted. So they're individual. Everyone is individual, and we've got contracts with Plymouth, Reading, Swindon, Cavalry FC. Obviously, it's in Canada. So we'd like to do something with Everton and yourselves.
I cannot believe, like, the quality of this. If Everton are going to do anything with players on the pitch at the end of the season, present them with these. Like, this is honestly, it's a special bit of kit, but people can order these direct as well. We're going to put all your details on our socials. Our socials is at Across the Park PC. So all your images and all your contact details. But I've got to ask, how would you go from playing for Everton to doing this?
To be fair, it's not me, it's the wife.
Okay.
So she's the artist. Again, I've got contacts in the game.
Yeah.
And I do help her. I actually do the hangers. So I twist the hangers round.
So you've got you do something there.
I do something there. But she's the artist and everything in that. And her name is Judith Kitson.
Yeah.
So the firm is Kits on Hangers, which is a good name, I believe.
Yeah.
But that one,
this one here,
is the last shirt of Goodison Park.
We can get it close up at that. Perhaps that is just anyone like me who's lucky enough to have in a home office. Jesus
and can I just
Christ.
say about the greatest goalkeeper? Can I just
absolutely?
Yeah.
This one, you brought this in before, and this caught my eye. This just looks special. If you can get a little look at that.
Greatest goalkeeper in the world.
You can see the quality of it as well. This would make an unbelievable gift for. It's not even limited to Everton, is it? You can do this for everyone, and you have done. I think is it Stephen Schumacher used you at Plymouth?
Yeah, Shuey's had one. Wayne Rooney's had one.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney had his 100th cap. He also had his debut one, which was Everton debut, England debut, Man United debut.
Yeah.
And it was actually in his cabinet.
Wow.
So that was a real good thing for us.
I'm honestly, I'm not just saying it because I'm amazed by this one. This one is just
the quality is superb, yeah.
Like, and what I like as well is we've actually got about 16 players, including the coaches on there. You've not left anybody out of that.
Mm-hmm.
The 84, 85 squads. It's just special. And I imagine, without putting words in your mouth, you can do things for schools and colleges and things who want to do presentations throughout the season.
Well, we've done it in Canada and we've done it for youth teams. So special season, when you've just won a national trophy or whatever, or a local provincial trophy, we've done it for them. And that's where we've kicked on coming over to England. We've now got in with the pro teams. Yeah. And we've got a few people that, Reading have always been good with the kids coming through into the first team. So Reading have actually got them where when you've made your debut, they're actually giving them to the kid that's made his debut. Oh, fantastic.
How good is that?
Yeah. But again, as supporters, we'd love them as well. I love what she does.
Yeah.
And I know I'm biased, but my kids have got them. My granddaughter plays for Plymouth Argyle ladies. Yeah. She's played for Bristol City ladies. She played for England under 17s. She's got them.
Yeah. This is something that, God rest me heart full of soul, he'd have loved to have this in his dream. And I imagine there's people who've watched that 84, 85 side, and I imagine there's people who've played in it and coached in it who would love that. Yeah. But like I said, the Neville one there, the Goodison Park one, you can accommodate different requests. We're going to put everything on our socials. Our socials is at Across the Park PC on Twitter and Instagram. It's at the bottom of the link right now. It'll be in the description as well, how you can get in touch with Tommy and his wife and just have a conversation on what Tommy can do for you. But
customise
it, amazing. They can. And I've got no say-so at all, but if anyone from Everton Football Club is watching, you have to come and have a look at these. The leaving of Goodison has only happened once. And if the rumours are true that you're getting some ex-pros on the pitch, these would make the unbelievable gifts for them. Tommy, it's been great to get you on. Like I said, I'd love to get you back on when Judges on, because I think you could talk a lot more and right the wrongs about this current Everton setup, but we'll just touch upon it. It's a bit of a tough time being a Blue, but we're not too far from Bramley Moore. Are you hopeful that the worst is behind us and we're just sailing towards calmer shores now?
Do you know what? I think he's done a great job.
Mm.
I think, Dicey's done a great job in what we've got. But again, moving forward, I'd like to see us play more football. I think we've got footballers. You look at the team we've got there on the park. We could play more football, I believe. And again, when you go to away games, you're looking to win better. Not just, West Ham last week, they were there for the taking.
It's a tough watch, yeah.
Yeah. And again, I just feel we've got the players there. And being a coach, I probably see it, as a coach, but also a supporter. I'm desperate for the boys to come through again. And all my kids, my grandkids, they're all blaming me for being Evertonians.
Yeah.
And it's wrong. It's wrong. I've got kids over in Canada that I've actually brainwashed. So there's girls now in the 30s who are Evertonians. And, I brainwashed probably about 250 Evertonians over there. But they still follow Everton. And I'm proud of Everton.
Yeah.
And I think we are a big club. But we could be like West Brom or Sunderland, where you don't know how good they were. And they were massive, massive clubs. But 80s is drifting away from us now. And we've got to come again. And hopefully, once this takeover is done, we see better days.
Yeah, couldn't have put it better myself. Tommy, it's been great to get you on. Please come on again. But thanks for joining us across the park.
Smashing. I've enjoyed it. Thanks, Ian.
Great. Hope anyone who's watching or listening on the audio platform has enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed it. We jumped in the time machine. We went back to the 70s and spoke about that amazing Everton team. We got some tales that we maybe shouldn't have, but they're there now. We can't take them back. And the amazing, amazing kits on hanger stuff in the studio here. We'll put some more images on if anybody wants to get in touch with Tommy or his wife through us. Please reach out on our socials, which is @AcrossTheParkPC. We are back this week to look ahead to the Brentford game on Saturday. Not many games left at Goodison. Let's make it rocking. And the Merseyside derby for the women this Sunday as well. Get down. There's only a few tickets in the Gladys Street Terrace left. I think £2 for kids. That would be a great experience to get the kids in to Goodison Park. But thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. My pleasure to interview Tommy Wheeldon today. Up the Toffees.